before the grass. As we journey on the pathways, as adulthood nears and nears, we greet the newborn days to celebrate a dozen years.
In the United States, the major milestones of maturity in the life of a young person follow a familiar pattern. For children, the first milestone arrives at 13, when they become officially a teenager. Then, at the age of 16, they can drive a car. At 18, a child is recognized as an adult and may register to vote or be drafted into the armed services should the need arise. The final milestone arrives at 21, when they may legally consume alcohol. In Estolia, the pattern differs. The age of 12 marks the first major milestone. It is the boundary between being a child and being a young adult. For the future king and keeper, this marks the beginning of their ascension toward the stray Aaron. At 18, for most young adults, primary education, roughly comparable to high school in the United States, is completed. Young men then embark upon their acolyte year. The final milestone comes at 30, when a young man finds his Kaylee and enters the most critical part of the life cycle, marriage and family. Meredith Zakarian, Culture of Estolia, First Edition.
Xavier tightened the stirrups on Horace before glancing towards his brother. Max was already up on his stallion Rickety, grinning at him in the lamplight.
"Mount up,"
Antonio commanded, adding,
"Once we are all astride, we will have the lamps extinguished to allow our eyes to get used to the moonlight."
Xavier felt a surge of anticipation once he was in the saddle. They had traveled to see the dawn from Mount Estoliana many times in his life, but it had never meant something, not like it did on this morning. Once Antonio gave the command, they set off, two abreast, down the palace road. Rickety neighing loudly, perhaps expressing Max's excitement. The trail wound upward through stands of ancient trees, the horses finding their footing with practiced ease. By the time they emerged above the tree line, Xavier's eyes had fully adjusted, and he could see the lesser peak of Mount Estoliana silhouetted against a sky still deep with stars. His parents drew their mounts alongside one another, and his father's voice floated back through the cool air.
"I knew,"
their father said,
"that I would marry your mother the instant I saw her. The hardest part of all was knowing that I had to wait 5 days to claim her."
Their mother laughed at that. The moon was extra bright, so they needed no additional light.
"I fell in love with him instantly too."
"I explained to her about the keeping of the soul,"
their father said.
"I told her I wished to make her my queen, that I wanted her to be the mother of our children, that I could not countenance any other woman on the planet keeping my soul. I believe I even threatened to abdicate if she would not have me."
"What is the aura like?"
Max asked. Antonio's voice came from behind them.
"I have read many descriptions. It is harder to describe to a man who has not yet seen an aura, yet far easier to discuss with those who have. I have heard as many as 8 separate accounts, each uniquely different, from a blinding light to a murky glow, from a rainbow swirl to a rose-red outline. It is unique. The aura is literally the soul of a woman. Not every man needs to see an aura to know the woman is right for him. But when the aura is seen, it is because a man's soul can see and recognize the soul that is perfectly in tune with his own."
He sighed, a sound imbued with happiness.
"That would have been awful if she turned you down. Would you really have abdicated, Father?"
Max asked.
"I could not be king of Estolia if I did not have a woman to keep my soul."
"Could you not find someone else?"
"No, Max, I could not. The aura is more than the recognition that a woman can keep your soul. It is the recognition that you have found the one woman whom deity has declared will keep your soul."
Antonio added,
"Once you see a woman's aura, Max, you have no more choices. Deity has declared to you the woman who is your soulmate. It is up to you, once you see the aura, to follow a strict series of steps.
He paused a moment before his voice floated through the moonlight-soaked air.
Xavier, what will your brother do from the moment he sees the aura of the woman who will keep his soul?
Xavier did not answer right away. He was always self-conscious when his uncle asked him questions like this one. He wanted to get it right.
If we assume that it is 5 days, just like mother and father, then the first and most critical thing is that he must make certain to never be alone with her until the evening before he turns 30.
You will see to that, I'm certain,
Antonio said dryly. Xavier had some misgivings about that. He did not know how it would be that easy if he had his Kaylee showing him her aura. Perhaps he and Max would have to watch out for each other.
Once he knows the woman he is to wed, he has a choice to tell her as much or as little as the spirit whispers to his soul. It is important to be as receptive as possible and to follow the urgings of the spirit. That is the only way to marital happiness.
I would say it is critical that you share as much as possible with the women who will keep your two souls,
Antonio said.
While there have been some incredibly successful marriages between former kings and keepers who have first seduced their Kaylees, there is a tighter, stronger bond when there is consent between the two. It is a lot to ask a woman to become a queen.
They were all quiet for the rest of the ride to the top of the mountain. The sky brightened, and the glow of molten gold was peeking over the horizon when they turned their attention to the southeast and the rising sun. Xavier was on his horse next to his uncle Antonio. Antonio said softly,
That sunrise. Imagine all of that light and glory bottled up in one slender woman. She looked like the silver-white light at the very edge of a summer cloud obscuring the sun. That is what Laura's aura looked like. I knew the moment I met her, more than a year before my birthday, that she would keep my soul, and I asked her to be mine. I knew with a powerful whisper of deity in my ear, my heart and my mind, that she was to be mine and I was to be hers. But it was only upon her return to Estolia that she showed me her aura.
If you knew, why did you see her aura?
Xavier asked.
No man can be keeper who has not first perceived the pure substance of his future Kaylee's soul. You and your brother will see the aura of your future wives. Not every king sees the aura. Every keeper does. You will. Your sensitivity to the souls of others is part of your future role. You will only ever see one soul, the aura of your wife, but you will sense the souls of every person you come in contact with. You will feel the kindling of life from the moment of conception for any Estolian. Your power, Xavier, will be more than you can dream of at this time.
Xavier looked over to where Max was speaking with their father. He wanted to ask his uncle whether he wondered if deity got it wrong when they were selected as first and second born, but he realized that would be casting aspersions on Antonio's father's character as the former keeper of Estolia. As they began their return journey, Xavier maneuvered his horse to be the last. He could hear the others talking together, but his thoughts had turned inward. Everything that Antonio had shared with him was whirling around in his mind. As they reached the final switchback, he offered up a prayer to deity, thankful for the comfort of having a brother who was so close to him, for everything he was given in such abundance. He prayed for the acceptance that he and his brother both needed to embrace their roles in this life. As his prayer finished, his brother called back to him,
Come on, Zed, hurry up.
The ancient trees stand still as faith. The stars burn deep above the pass. We ride beneath their canopied shade towards something built before the grass.